Hey guys, can anyone hear? Voice test 1, 2, 3. Just type a Y if you're hearing.
Yep, I can hear you.
Alrighty, Unfuturist, welcome. Yay, Inc.
Yeah, I think I got everything all set up now.
Yay!
I shall flop on. Oh, I can't even talk. I shall flop on the couch. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yay, AJ!
Well, I hope you all had a good weekend.
I was very impressed that you posted the Facebook invitation hours in advance. Very good. I'm teasing.
I try to do that if I actually have time to get it done before Monday morning. Yeah, I actually got this all put together last week sometime, so that was good.
Yeah, the Discord announcement I think was up last night even.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, it's 9 a.m. I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So, welcome everyone to this week's Geek Weekly meetup. The goal of Geek Weekly and Science Space is to connect people who share interests in all things geeky and to build a community around that here at localhost. Feel free to join in the discussion in voice as well as in chat. And if you'd like to be involved here in the community, feel free to chat with me after the meeting. We also have a website where we post the Geek Weekly review, host a calendar, and link to our Discord server. It's localhostconnection.com. And as things grow here, we'll try to expand that website with some additional information and functionality. That in chat. The agenda for today's meetup includes the usual introductions, discussions of some interesting news articles, state of the viewer, geek trivia, show and tell, future events, and some general conversation. Again, hello everyone, and we'll start off with some introductions. And we're going to do things a little differently. Normally I post this optional something for you to share in the announcement for the meetup, and we never get to it. So I thought I'd throw that in with the introductions. So say in voice or chat what you're comfortable sharing with us. If you're in voice, say your science-based name so we know who's talking, and add your geographic location if you're comfortable, and what the funniest thing was that you've seen recently online. Paste that in chat. There you go. And I guess we'll start counter. Oh, I guess I'll go first. I'm Karsten Stark, and I'm located in Washington State. Funniest thing that I've seen recently was one of those Facebook posts about eating sugar-free candy, like too much sugar-free candy, and having an accident trying to get home. Let's see. Sidearm, I'll pass it over to you.
Sidearm, owner at Online Media Service of Development One LLC, Kaching, and I specialize in online presence. I'll have to think of something funny and I'll paste it in chat. Over to you, Karsten.
Cool, sounds good. Let's see, we got Inquisitive Loon there on the couch. Inquisitive Loon says he's from Indianapolis, Indiana, and has nothing funny to report this week. Let's see, we've got AJ over there on the couch as well.
Yeah. Hi, I'm AJ McDowell in a few virtual worlds, and I live in Central Florida within a stone's throw of the rat that ate Orlando. I actually was remembered by my employers today, so I've been working and it's been glorious. And the funniest thing I've seen on the internet lately is a picture of the face mask of wellness, which I must have. It is item level 63, binds when picked up. It adds plus 30 intellect, plus 20 stamina, and plus 20 plague resistance, and I require this to be in my wardrobe. And that's it.
That's awesome. And then we've got Displaces asking who's doing the music. That's just the general stream for the region. You can toggle it on and off with the radio icon on the bottom right of the viewer. Let's see. And then we've got Futurist there on the chair. Welcome, Futurist. Oh, so Futurist says he's an hour north of that dark depravity, New York City. And Displaces asking the artist of the music, and that let's see. I don't know if you can see where I'm at. If you look over here, by this board, there's a little artist and title scroller down here that'll show you who's playing the music. Feature says the funniest thing I've seen was a cat video of a cat trying to see how far he could cantilever a plate of fruit over the edge of a countertop. That's awesome. Let's see, and then we've got Brusana there, came in. Welcome, Brusana. And we were just saying who we are, where we're from, and what the funniest thing was that we've seen this week online. So I should add some more chairs down here. So Prasanna says she's from Indianapolis, Indiana. It says, howdy, neighbor Loon. And the funniest thing on the web, she hasn't seen anything too funny this week.
Okay, I have a funny thing to share. This is a cartoon from the other day. If you can click it, you have to look at it to get it for a minute, but that's me finding things funny. Enjoy.
Cool. Check that out. And displaced, welcome. We've got, so Mimi just came in. Welcome, Mimi. We were just doing some introductions, saying what we're our science-based name, our geographic location, and what the funniest thing was that we've seen recently online. I don't know if she can hear or not. Okay, cool.
I think I forgot to mention my location. So just to make it interesting, I currently live in Texas in the Houston area, but I moved here from Ohio in the Cleveland area. And before that, I lived in Pennsylvania in the Pittsburgh area. And I was actually born in Massachusetts. As they say, I wasn't born in Texas, but I got here as soon as I could. Over.
All right, cool. Welcome, everyone, and welcome to those that are new to Geek Weekly. So, up next, we got some news. And the first bit of news that came across this week was that sleeping microbes wake up after 100 million years buried under the sea floor. And I just thought that was pretty wild. They apparently were able to slow their metabolism down slow enough that they were able to survive off the tiny amounts of oxygen, like moving through the ground and the water and whatnot. And and then once they were introduced to some fresh oxygen and some food, they started moving around again. I thought that would be interesting if they could use that somehow for like stasis or something. Repasting the link here without the bullet point. There you go. Let's see if I can get rid of the bullet points for the next one so I don't have to retype them. There we go. Cool. So the next bit of news is this: astrophysicists observe long theorized quantum phenomena, and that was that a star. Let's see. So a star, as it's
Wait
shrinking
a
in
minute.
size.
Can we talk about the microbes just quickly? So
Sure.
I see the clickbait is no one knew that single-celled organisms could live so long. But it reminds me, last week it was raining, and when it rains where I am, all of a sudden these little, we call them little peeper frogs, pop out. These frogs are like a half an inch long. And you walk through the puddles and you see these little ripples on the puddles skipping back and forth. And I say, what are those? And they're little bitty frogs. It's like, like 10 or 20 of them all hippity hopping around, trying to avoid stepping on them. So this thing where things go dormant, like in the desert, I think that happens like once a year in certain deserts. It rains and boom, plants flourish or little critters flourish. But it is interesting that there's 100 million year cycle, because locusts are like a 17 year, 100
Yeah.
million year. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really weird. I used to live in Vegas and the Mojave Desert, and every now and then, rarely, Yeah, these really bad locust years, and that happened fairly recent. But yeah, that's always a weird. Um, did you? I've been kind of out of it. I've been sitting down trying to wake up. Did you talk about how when you the ideas for going into space travel and you know, I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, just briefly, I kind of said that would be cool to if they could figure out how to use what those organisms do for create some kind of stasis for extended space travel.
And also people that are in coma, you know, they're always trying to stabilize people for whatever medical reason. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Like I've never heard of anything coming to life after that much time had passed.
Yeah, it could be like Futurama, you know?
Okay, I caught up to your second one. What I like about that picture is it looks like a giant space amoeba. Really round and organic and a lot of flowing. It looks like a multi-cell. It looks like more than an amoeba, whatever they call the kind of cell that has more than one part in it. That was like the beginning of life as we know it. This could be a giant space creature. And of course, has beautiful alliteration. It's a quantum conundrum.
Right. And Jamie Lee was saying that the single cell organism thing reminded her of how they're finding like ancient diseases like in the ice and stuff in the Arctic. Yeah, I do recall that as well. It's pretty fascinating. Yeah, so this quantum phenomena they're talking about that they're showing that Sidearm was just talking about is that it's long been theorized that as a star shrinks, it actually gains mass, which you would think that it would gain mass as it grows. And they've not been able to prove it until now, and I guess they went over lots of data collected over the years and were able to prove it using that data. I think what was the team? I must be thinking of a different thing about who it was that discovered this, but yeah. So let's see, what else do we got? They figured out that fool's gold may be valuable after all. I got all excited when I saw that because I had a box full of fool's gold.
Wow. What are they saying is making it valuable?
Well, they've discovered a way to make it magnetic and to carry an electrical charge. So they're thinking it might actually be useful in was it electronics or non-toxic solar cells, things like that. So
Oh wow, that's really going to increase. If that's the truth, you know, you're going to see this in solar cells. I can see this being a commodity in the future. That's so weird.
yeah, right. It's pyrite.
I like the quote. We were pretty surprised that it worked, said lead scientist Layton. See, that is honesty.
Right. Unfortunately, my small little box of pyrite, I don't think it's going to be worth anything. But I guess in large quantities it could be.
And then he says, "We guess we can do it with other materials as well." I wonder what they're like trying to do this with now.
Right.
There have been a lot of new materials announcements I've noticed this year. It seems, the big one all along was the buckyballs that Buckminster Fuller came up with, a big giant soccer ball of carbon atoms, and now there's one made of boron or something, and then they're finding out new ways to take these exotic new molecules and infuse them with things. So, most of it is in the lab, but all of it is leading towards more functional stuff for semiconductors and for, I don't know, things that you can put inside your bloodstream that'll help monitor health and improve it. It's really cool, the advancements that are going just in basic materials and minerals and things, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. So the next one was a little hard for me to. Well, it's quantum mechanics, so it's always hard to wrap your mind around it. But the title of the article was "Giant Atoms Enable Quantum Processing and Communication in One." And I had that. The way I understood it was that by using giant atoms, I'm not exactly sure how they make giant atoms, but they can basically combine qubits, make qubits process together instead of on their own. So it's almost like making a multi-core processor or something like that, I'm guessing. But in the sense of quantum mechanics, where it's a single qubit is like multi-core in itself. So I don't know, it's really hard to wrap your head around. But so they're talking about making even more powerful quantum computers than what we've already developed. But the problem typically is when you observe a quantum bit through this, I forget what they call it, some kind of fabric or something. It basically destabilizes what you're observing, basically destroys it. So you can look at it and see what it is, and then it's destroyed. But apparently with this, you're able to keep using it. And that was the only thing limiting the interaction between the qubits.
Okay, you have triggered one thought. I'm going to tell you again that I'm kind of a fanboy girl of Sabine Hossenfelter. And I'm going to put her YouTube channel here and encourage people to bookmark it and look later. She's a physicist in Germany, and she does fascinating books and videos about physics and quantum mechanics and all that stuff. She also does music videos, and I've introduced her to a couple of folks, and they've said, well, I hope I'm not revealing too much, but Futures said I'd go on a date with her, and Futures is pretty out there academically, so I think he was impressed with her credentials academically, of course, but she has a lot of stuff on quantum mechanic computers, qubits. What is a qubit? Q-U-B-I-T, and why we have computers that are capable of 5 or 6 qubits when we actually need them that are need 500 of them. which is we're nowhere near. So, but she's also very entertaining and straightforward. And what I love about her is she's so evidence oriented. It's like, this is the latest, greatest thing, and there's no evidence for it whatsoever. And she wrote a whole book on how a physicist is being distracted right now. I'm sorry, I'm on a little rant here, but it's a geek rant thing, okay? And that they're so enthralled with the idea of one theory of everything will unify quantum mechanics with gravity, and it'll look so beautiful with these balanced equations. She said there's no evidence whatsoever for it. And they're getting all this funding for stuff that's being driven by the idea of a perfect theory instead of what physics has always been, she says, experimenting, getting results, and then figuring out what theory goes with it, and then kind of moving forward. But she only rants on that occasionally. She's a lot of fun to I don't watch her every day, but about once a week or so, there's something really. So I recommend that highly if you're geeky and like accessible science, combined with music videos.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. Okay. And I don't know how many of you are into flight simulators, but if you're into flight simulators, Microsoft Flight Simulator is looking pretty amazing. And so here's a little review that they did of the preview version. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. And what the new simulator does is it uses Bing Maps for its satellite imagery, and they use that to basically build the entire world. And I guess you're presented with a globe, and you can pick anywhere you want to go, and start off on an airport or in the sky, and everything it just looks ultra realistic.
I actually have never had interest in flight simulators, but I love exploring virtual worlds, and it's at the point now because it's realistic. I think it holds a lot of interest for me. I would love to explore the actual world in an airplane. That would be amazing. And then what about the one guy that flew over Area 51? I thought that was funny.
Yeah, there was some other video I saw on YouTube just looking at this thing, and where they actually decided to fly into Area 51, and of course, it's not like military there and everything in the game, but I thought it was pretty cool to be able to fly into this restricted airport and kind of see all the different buildings that are there and everything.
And it takes the same amount of time. That's what they're saying, right? From if you were in that plane in the virtual in the simulator, and you're flying from, let's say, Seattle to San Diego, you're spending the realistic amount of time that it would take you to actually fly in real life in your game, right? So like it's all real time. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and I believe they have some time skipping functionality in there too, if you're just interested in the takeoff and landing and stuff. But from what I have read, a lot of people just enjoy just actually doing the whole flight because it's just so beautiful.
I would just fly over our town, just to like look down into everyone's backyards and be, poking around, being Snoopy.
We might have to try and land a 747 on our grass runway down here in our town.
I think the first flight simulator, I was introduced to it by one of my relatives, and I was fascinated. And it ran on a regular DOS PC, and of course, I figured out how to take off in a light Cessna, and then landing was really hard. But two things happened. One was I discovered how to use hover mode, which was a miracle, because instead of worrying about how to fly it, I could start hovering around and go look at Chicago at the Sears Tower, and which I'd been to, and it was basically, in a sense, my first 3D virtual world experience was just using hover mode in Flight Simulator. Even it was so, basic, they still had, Empire State Building and stuff like that in there. The second thing was I was running it at work. This was in the old days when there wasn't a big issue about running your own software at work. And the supervisor came over and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm running Flight Simulator. Look at this." Of course, I made it sound official, like it actually emulates the dynamics of flying a real plane. He said, "I have a real plane. Let me see." And then he said, "Do you want to go flying this weekend?" And I said, "Okay." And no kidding, that weekend, I got in this light Cessna with him, and we flew. He let me hold the controls while we flew straight and level, buzzed our house, and I was scared to death. Scared to death 50% of the time and thrilled half the time. And we landed once to get new fuel. So, and as you know, landing and takeoff are the most dangerous parts of a flight. Took off again and finished flying around and landing. So that kind of drove Flight Simulator into the back of my mind. The third thing that happened to me later was at work, we got a giant big screen projection screen, one of those in the old days. This was a big deal, but, one of those things that's like 8 feet wide and 6 feet tall. And so Ron Riley, my best friend, and I snuck a copy of Flight Simulator and a computer over to the big display in the conference room when nobody's looking. Said, "This is going to be so cool. We're going to run Flight Simulator in this giant screen and feel like we're flying." But it was a big disappointment because, projection screens back then were pretty dimly lit, and plus it wasn't any more vivid than just staring at a computer screen. And that's when I started to realize that the sensation of being in a 3D world, at least half of it's going on in the back of our eyeballs in the brain. Just present enough of an image to us in the front of the eyeballs, and we'll fill in the rest. But I still love Flight Simulator a lot. And then I did watch a couple things, like you said, you guys, where the guy, it was a 4-hour-long YouTube video. I can't believe I watched it. He did the entire pre-flight check on a commercial airliner in Microsoft Simulator, including tower communications, taxiing, taking off, setting directions, setting the map, noting the landmarks as we flew. 4 hours. 4 hours. And then, approaching, turning around for the correct header. You can tell I paid attention, and coming in on the landing path. And I thought this would be an excellent training system for real pilots. But I really kind of liked hover mode, just to be honest. Over.
Yeah. I'm trying to get my dad to come in this game because he just had to let go of his hangar and his plane. He sold everything off because I don't know if I told you guys, but my dad has blood cancer. He's gone through chemo. He's finally on the type of chemo that you have for the rest of your life. It's just one time a month. It's not bad. So they've knocked the levels down. But anyways, because of his frailty, he's had to sell his plane. And he's always been a pilot, ever since he went through Top Gun school and the Navy and this and that. And so his flying has always been everything. And so if this is that realistic, and he's got this huge screen, and he kind of lives in his recliner, and you can go on the easy mode and fly this thing with an Xbox controller. I'm like, he needs to be flying this because there's so many places he could go, and he would just love it. But how do you talk your 70-year-old father into using an Xbox controller going in? I mean, I'm sure I could do it, but he really needs to do this. I think it's for people like that would really get the most out of it. And then I'm also kind of waiting for people to have the kind of like hacks and stuff where you can get a bunch of your friends together, and what if someone like had it to where Godzilla and Megatron, and it's just like all these kind of weird things you could attack, just to like buzz by, or like King Kong and go to New York, and like play these games inside would be really cool. I believe in the geek community. They're gonna make this happen.
Well, I did that. It wasn't as advanced, but I did that with my grandmother, who was a 99, if you know anything about women pilots. She was a 99 for most of her life, and after she had her stroke, she couldn't fly anymore. So I got her on a flight simulator, and she absolutely hated it at first,
Yeah.
but she got to where she loved it. And I did the same thing with my mom. I got her a horse riding game, and she would go riding horses after her back surgery on a virtual game, and she
Oh, that's
absolutely loved
awesome.
it because it gives them back that freedom that was taken away by their surgery or whatever
Yeah.
medical mishap. But it does kind of give them their freedom back a little bit, so it might be good for him.
Yeah, well, he's gonna get it for Christmas, whether he
Ha
knows he wants it
ha!
or not. So we'll see. Yeah. And I have a feeling if he does get into it, then maybe that's the step I need to get him into science space because I'm still working on him. I don't know, he just won't come in, but I think I can work on him. This will be the halfway point.
Oh, and
Well, if I ever,
hopefully by then we'll have air machines that fly. By then,
Oh,
hopefully,
awesome.
yeah, I was just gonna
hopefully,
say, hopefully
I
I'll have
could
some
hope.
time here soon to make an airplane in here.
Yay!
Oh, me too. Well, I don't know about the bike. No, well, motorcycle. I like the motorcycles, even though you have the crazy sim crossings. But the horse is fun. Can't wait to have horses in here sometime.
My mom liked the horses in Cindy Bolero's region, even though they're kind of a sleigh ride. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My mom loved those horses.
So the last bit of news was that the SpaceX Crew Dragon made its first historic splashdown, returning a couple of NASA astronauts home. So that just happened yesterday.
Yes, and the next crew that's going up in September is going to be the Artemis crew. I'm just saying, I love that name.
The one thing, I guess I shouldn't be surprised by it, but I was surprised that they had all those private boaters circling the capsule. Like, you'd think they would be able to secure the area a little bit better than they did.
Yeah. Well, what had happened was the Coast Guard went in and cleared the area, and then the Coast Guard either left, but B, they didn't really have the authority to do anything about clearing the area other than just asking people to move. So
Okay.
really, that all boils down to there was a break in the chain of command somewhere, not giving the Coast Guard the authority to do anything about these people that were being jerkwads, basically. Sorry, I hate to say it.
Yeah.
That could have been a really dangerous situation too.
Yeah.
Could have, especially with that gas leaking and stuff. After they landed, they're like, "Up, we can't let you out yet because there's a leak going on here. We need to clear that out first."
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Oh, sorry, I had to sneeze. I was wondering about when they were showing the map of all the different locations, and this is exactly where we're touching down, and this is our backup locations. And that doesn't seem like a really good idea to be informing the public about
No.
where we're
Yeah.
flashing down.
And especially whenever you've got people in those specific areas, the lower 48 and whole lower 48, but especially the people in the lower southern states that won't even wear a mask when they're asked to. I'm just saying. You know? Could you please wear a mask? No. Okay.
Right. So speaking of viewers, for Windows machines anyways, the current staging viewer is 2B59, and the current preview viewer this morning was bumped up to 2B59, and the live viewer is still at 1B44. So there's the different links there. And of course, Mac and Linux has slightly different viewer versions, but they're not far behind, so that's good.
I am currently into B59 if anybody's curious, and I mean, things are working fairly well. There's some bumps along the road, but fairly well. Yeah. For normal everyday use, sure.
I think I'll have to give that a try, but I'm surprised, Karsten, that you don't sneak onto my computer and just put the news viewer on there when you put it on yours. I always wait for you to 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 really fall in love with something and to be waxing poetic about it before I put it online.
Oh, so we have to wait until Karsten is poetic? Awesome. I'll be looking out for that.
Yeah, the 2B59 seems to be pretty good. I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like it's actually a little faster. Um, I don't know if the new memory optimizations are in this one. It might be. My memory usage is pretty low here, so um, yeah, it definitely seems to be running a bit better. There's still a couple of little bugs that I've noticed that have been there for all the 2B versions, but nothing serious. So up next we have some trivia. So I think, yeah, I think I changed this one up a little bit again. Trying to keep them a little bit fresh. So let's see, up first we have 1980s video games. And in what video game were you likely to be eaten by a grue?
Zork.
Yeah, that's right, it's Zork. I figured Artemis would get that one. She loves Zork.
Well, I used to, do like tributes to Zork on all of my Sims in Second Life. Somewhere on the Sim was a tribute.
Let's see, up next we got the Lord of the Rings. And who says, do not meddle in the affairs of, or no, do not meddle in the affairs of who? For they are subtle and quick to anger. What are they talking about? Who are they talking about? That was a confusing one.
All I can think about is dragons because you are crunchy and taste good with ketchup, and I know that's not it, but you know.
Yeah, Jamie Lee got it. That's lizards. Silent Leaf Entertainment. Let's see. So, in Star Trek, the original series, the Enterprise engines are housed in what structures? Jamie Lee got that one too. It's the nacelles, which is funny. There's a town in Washington called Nacelle, and every time we drive through it, I always start singing something about the Port Nacelle. Anyways, let's see. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Ron tries to turn Scabbers what color? Thanks for coming, Mimi. Take care. Nope, it's not white or purple. Yeah, it's not blue. Paint blue. Nope. Oh man. It's a primary color. And it's not blue or red. Yay, it's yellow. AJ got it.
And then I went to secondary with green, but the brain is dead, and I was busy proofing some sheet notes while everyone was talking about other stuff because, again, my employers remembered I exist today.
Right. So, on the X-Files, what is Mulder's first name?
Fox.
Yep, you got it. That's Fox. I want a
Woohoo!
cool name like Fox.
And what about that guy on Stargate Atlantis? Rainbow something? What was it? It was a crazy, crazy name.
Oh yeah, the actor that on Stargate Atlantis, Rainbow Sun Franks.
Rainbow.
Yeah.
Born in the 70s, I take it.
I don't think anything of it. I worked with two twins in one of my jobs, and her name was Star Baby, and her
Oh,
brother's
wow.
name was Moon Doggy, and neither one of them was born in the 70s.
Wow.
So let's see, what else we got? Classic board games. Dating back nearly 5,000 years, what board game requires players to move their 15 chips over 24 long triangles?
Chinese checkers?
No?
No. What's that other one?
Oh, backgammon.
Backgammon.
Yep, that's backgammon.
Wow, I didn't know it went back that far.
This one's mathematics. What is the only even prime number?
2?
Yeah, that's 2.
Woo!
Yeah, AJ's on
That
a roll
algebra
today.
2 has come in handy, remembering back that far. Yay!
Let's see. In Star Wars: A New Hope, George Lucas formed what company to do the visual effects for Star Wars?
Industrial Light and Magic.
Yep, sidearm displaced heart of the sleigh. Oh, got it. Industrial Light and Magic. Let's see. 1950s sci-fi movies. In 1948, they met Frankenstein, but in the 50s, what comedy duo met up with the Mummy and later Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
Laurel and Hardy?
No. Abbott and Costello. Yep, you got it.
Wow.
Oh,
It's the same
Inside
thing.
Arm, yep.
Totally the same thing. I'm sure it's the same thing.
Physics. So up next, we got some physics. In the geocentric model of the universe, what was at the center of existence?
Earth.
Yep, that's Earth. Which also brings up another bit of news that was released earlier this month, and that was that scientists have pinpointed the true center of the solar system. And it's not the sun. It's actually slightly away from the sun.
That black hole that they haven't discovered yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I should probably read that because I'm curious, like what the reasoning was behind that, if they figured it out or not. I didn't have time to read the entire thing.
Okay, I have to have a geek moment here. I had read that also. The center is just outside the sun, which is kind of cool. Think about it. The sun is technically orbiting this little point just outside its surface, along with the rest of us. The connection is, I read this article a year or so ago about how come we have 2 tides on Earth. And they say, well, it's because of the moon. The moon pulls the water, so it's easy, True. But when the moon pulls, it only pulls in one direction. So theoretically, there should just be one tide that sweeps around the world, every 24 hours. But the tides occur every 12 hours. Why is that? Then this article went into this long, complicated explanation, which basically boiled down to a very similar thing about why the center of the universe is just outside the sun, which is basically the Earth and the moon are not, the moon and the Earth are orbiting around a center that's not the center of the Earth. It's between the Earth and the moon. And because of that, there is a centrifugal force that pushes the water the other way every 12 hours. That was a very tortured explanation, but it's the same idea. The center, that when the moon rotates around the Earth, the Earth actually is rotating a teensy little bit around the moon at the same time, just like the sun and the universe, the solar system. Wasn't that fun? That's the end of my geek moment. And this would be Dixie quality if it counts as astronomy geek. So I claim points from...
So it's basically the mass from all the other objects in the solar system kind of offsetting that center of the solar system. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sorry, okay, one more physics geek moment. So y'all know about Newton's law of, F equals ma and all that stuff. And the triumph was when they figured how Earth and the moon orbited around each other and Earth around the sun. And there's a pretty famous sci-fi book called The Three-Body Problem. I think it's a Chinese author that got translated into English. AJ may know about it, or Artemis. But
it's on my list. I haven't read it though yet.
But here's the geek factoid behind it. For more than two bodies in space, when you write out the equations of three or more celestial objects, the equations of motion are unsolvable. There's no exact solution once you write out the differential equations. You can only approximate them. And you can approximate them pretty well because that's how we landed on the moon and sent rover to Mars and all that. But technically, the exact equations are yet unsolvable for three bodies or more. Unless, of course, Carson's favorite thing happens and we finally get the quantum computer done. And okay, end of that factoid.
Nice. Cool. And then so I'll just say a little bit about future events. We've got the book club on the last Friday of the month. We just had our second meetup last Friday. So we picked a new book. If anybody's interested in joining that's not already part of it, they can hit me up and I'll pass along the information.
I'm actually reading the second book to the Bobiverse because I liked the first one so much, and I'm reading the one that we chose. So I'm definitely gonna hit my 12 books personal, goal of 12 books for the year this year.
Yeah. And another little bit of news for future events is, let's see here, come September, probably the 21st will be the first day that we won't be here. So there's probably going to be about a month that we're not going to be able to do the Geek Weekly starting on the 21st, just because we're going to be, well, we've got our wedding going on. And
yeah, going into all the craziness.
Yeah.
Going down to Vegas, getting my stuff, unpacking, getting ready for the in-laws, come in, then the marriage and this and that, getting really crazy.
I think it's fair to say that a wedding is a totally good excuse to miss this. Absolutely. Miss on, have fun, enjoy.
Well, we're gonna this is both of our, second marriages, and having the chance to do this over again and do it exactly the way I want to and have so much fun. Not to say the first one wasn't fun, but it's very traditional and you're wearing the white dress and I don't know. But this time, I'm not even gonna walk down the aisle to the wedding march. we're just going crazy and doing everything that's for us. You know, like it's a total of 1940s thing. He's gonna look like a gangster, and I'll be in the little dress with the pillbox hat. I mean, it's just awesome.
Have fun. That sounds fantastic. Mine was, when I married Synapse, it was both of our third marriages because it took us a little while to find out who we should be married to as opposed to who we shouldn't. And
Yeah.
my theme was all the hors d'oeuvres. No, I can't pick. Make them all. I want them all. And that was my entire theme, and it was fabulous. And the main picture of the wedding is all the food on the table, and we're kind of washed out in the back. It was perfect.
Yeah. The only hard thing has been because of the COVID thing. We've had to severely change how we're having people come to the wedding and how we're handling the actual site. So we actually just rented this lavender farm with this old farmhouse on it, and it's on, I forget how many acres, but we get this huge property, and on the back end of the property is this discovery trail you can hike and bike and walk on, but we can control the entire site that way, and it's just really cool. And then like catering on the site, everything is on the site, so we're totally isolated for the entire weekend.
Yeah, so we'll be around for several weeks yet. But along with that, I was thinking of asking anybody if anybody's interested in being a host for Geek Weekly occasionally. They'd like to continue when we're gone during that time, and maybe pick up one here and there as we're moving through things. So I don't know if anybody's interested in that. You can get with me, and we can. It probably doesn't even necessarily need to be the same time slot or anything. I don't know, but yeah, if anyone's interested, let me know.
I've got a comment on that. I'm not volunteering. And I like the idea of having backup hosts, because the same thing happened with Mimi last week. She had a other commitment and couldn't run the buzz, and she was kind of looking for someone to cover for her. The trouble is, we're all shy introverts, remember?
Yeah,
So
right.
So you need more than a week's or two or three. Well, you're giving a lot of notice. She had less than a week's notice. But I do think on the bigger project of having multiple, more themed events and things with more hosts and so forth, that having someone be a backup host is good practice, or a good time for someone to try it to see if they like it or not. AJ and I have both hosted tons of events in Second Life. So there's a quite repeatable skill set and technology for it. And Harston, you've mastered it, and Artemis, you've mastered it, and so forth. Change of topic. I want to remind all there's another event this week, end of week chat. Jamie, who's here, is having that on Friday at 6 Central, and I've started going to that, and it's kind of fun. And it ends just before Ziggy's for people that like to go do that. But I'm having a good time there, and I recommend people go there. It's another kind of a chat event. It's different than the Buzz because it's kind of more about end of the week stuff, and it's new user friendly. So it's a great place to invite people to pop in and ask detailed questions about how to do stuff. It's kind of like, to me, the next step after, the Welcome Center, how to walk around stuff. I mean, so Jamie's a budding new host as well, is my point. So that's the connection I see. More hosts that feel comfortable doing what they're doing, the more events there'll be, and the more our world will grow. Over.
Site. I also wanted to add on to what you were saying about Mimi not being able to do it and wanting someone to step in. I thought about saying, hey, we can meet at my place, but then she had the photo thing at her place, and I thought, oh, we'll just hold her space for her. And so I didn't even say, hey, Mimi, do you want me to do something or anything like that? So maybe specific communication would be awesome on that, because I don't mind doing fill-in stuff, especially when I'm available. And with my work schedule, it's very fluid. So there are times when I am exceptionally available at this time, and others when, like today, I'm, fiddling around with spreadsheets in between talking. So, but I'm always happy to sub in or do whatever I can. I don't know
Awesome.
if I'm geeky enough. My nerd cred goes more toward the social end. I mean, I can't tell you what nacelles are. I do know what they are now that I'm remembered, but that's not one of those factoids that sticks in my brain. But, if you ask me about Guinan or other crazy stuff like this, the interpersonal relationships in geek lore are more what grab me than the technical aspects.
Oh, you're
And maybe
totally a geek.
okay.
So many ways.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad to know I am, because sometimes I'm like, oh God, I'm so losing at being a geek.
Well, anything that you could essentially talk anyone's ear out about it. That's what you're like. You're a book geek. I know you're a total book
Oh,
geek. I could
yes.
talk books with you for so long.
Yes. Well, yes, and if it just involves me babbling endlessly, I am also exceptionally good at that. That is a mad skill that I possess.
I know that moving along through the year, I'll probably be less available, only because I have to start studying contraindications. Well, so physiology, just so many medical things for school coming up here, and I just don't know how I'm going to take school yet. If I'm going to be one of those people where I need an extra day to absorb it for class or what, I don't know. Anatomy and all that stuff.
What are you studying? I think you mentioned it, but it's not coming to the forefront of
Well,
my brain.
so when Karsten met me, one of the things I've always wanted to do, and because I was divorcing and creating this new life for myself, and I was going to my thing was to move to the Pacific Northwest and do something I've always wanted to do. And ever since I was a little girl, you know how there's friends, if you've known someone who's always given everyone massages, they massage their family, their friends. And I was always that girl, always massaging everybody. And so here I am in my 40s and I want a different career and I want to be a medical massage therapist. So medical specifically because my dad going through cancer, I saw there was a huge need for the pain relief and just so that's my thing and I have a passion for that. But you have to go through these classes and I'm not into the anatomy and the contraindications and all that medical stuff. So and yeah. And I can't be a nurse because I hate blood, but I want to help people. So medical massage therapy is my thing.
That sounds fantastic, and I'll be interested to hear about everything you're taking, because I always wanted to be a nurse, but at age 50, I have a job that gives me vacation, 401k, and all this stuff, and I have to look at retiring someday. So I think
Yeah.
I'm stuck doing what I do, and that's okay. I get my real joy in areas that aren't my career, and I just look at that to fund the things I actually do enjoy. But I am so tickled for you that you get to pursue that. That is freaking fantastic. That is
Well,
awesome.
I love the whole area with the Pacific Northwest is something I love, and I have this dream of having like a yurt on some wooded acreage, and being able to have people come into this space. It's so relaxing, somewhere you'd go on vacation anyways, with the pine trees all around, and be able to just like totally relax as I work out all the kinks of your muscles and like figure, like if you give me all your problems, like, oh, my shoulder and this and that, or I work out and this is aching. That's just totally my thing. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Awesome. Yay.
And I get to practice on Karsten.
Which I'm sure he does not object to at all.
Yeah.
So we're at the top of the hour now. If you all want to hang out and chat some more, you're welcome to. Otherwise, I'd like to thank you all for coming. And if anybody is interested in continuing, I'm curious if anyone's working on anything here, or doesn't, or in real life, doesn't have to be science space related, real world or virtual. Any cool places you've discovered here in science space as well? I don't know if last week at the tech hours we talked a little bit about the modular vehicle component and creating aircraft, and I before that I had been experimenting with a boat, making a boat for the store. And while I was messing around with some stuff in it, I noticed a new uplift component or tick box and things like that in there, and I thought,
that was weird watching. Yeah.
so I was like, oh, this is new, and so I started messing with it and figured out. I basically turned the boat into an airplane and was flying it around my region in the editor. So I probably won't be able to get to it till after the wedding, but I do hope to actually make some aircraft and put those in as well.
Well, why don't you make a pontoon aircraft? That'd be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, that would be neat, actually. Because the physics are all in there. You can totally do all that. Yeah.
I'm just curious, Carson, if you've added anything else to the build. I think the last thing I remember was you put well, I guess it's gone now, the summer ice cream display. I like it the way it is. I'm just, I know you were working on too many ideas to keep up with, so just curious what else you were working on between the two of you. But it sounds like real life work has really been eating your lunch, so to speak, or paying for your lunch. It depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, he's been pretty busy going off site, well, to site jobs and things like that. And mostly this wedding is kicking our ass. Like right after this, when we all log out, we have to go pay for the wedding cake and run around. It's just getting crazy, and I think it'll finally ease up after September a little bit.
Okay, Artemis, important question. What kind of cake will this be?
Oh my God. So we're using Washington State as a theme because when I came up here, I just loved all the pine trees, the fir trees, the mountains. So even our wedding rings have Mount Rainier and the forests all the way around the band. And so what's native to Washington? Well, the wild blackberries. And so we're having a blackberry layer, like some kind of a layer through the middle of a mousse cake, a vanilla mousse cake with buttercream. And on the outside, they're going to paint or use fondant. I'm not sure quite yet, but the forests and Mount Rainier all the way around the outside, and then a mountain on. It'll be really cool.
Oh, that sounds amazing, and I bet it will be incredible, both visually and taste-wise.
Yes, I know, I can't wait.
Yes.
Everything is like all Washington, and even my bouquet has these sage leaves. So it's like we're on a lavender farm. So I have lavender out of the bouquet, then drooping down are even blueberry sprigs. I mean, it's really Washington themed. It's pretty cool.
I love it. Sounds fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I am going to stand up and head back to my region and put some random objects out to see if I can amuse myself with them, and wait for those who sign my paychecks to once again poke at my inbox. So it is lovely seeing everybody, and I will catch you all later on this week, I have no doubt. Take care, guys.
Cool,
Take
thanks for
care.
coming.
See you.
Here. Yeah, I haven't got to do much around here on localhost. I haven't got to do much of anything in Science Space other than just being here while I'm working. Yeah, eventually I do hope
Thanks,
to
Beatrice.
expand this.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to go too, but looking ahead, the community meeting is still on tomorrow. So I hope a bunch of you will go to that. And then the new technical office, whatever it is also on the schedule. And it looks like Mimi is still going to have her buzz for those that like to go get buzzed, so to speak. So look forward. I'm sure I'll see you guys around. See you soon. Thanks again, Karsten and Artemis, for the event. Thank you all
Thanks
for
for coming out,
your
guys.
company.
Futures.